All right, beautiful humans.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Naked Sunday. I'm your host, Caleb Nelson. I have my good friend, Tim Sokol here. Dude, I'm so happy to be on this episode with you. It's been a long time coming. Welcome to the show, brother.
Oh, thank you so much. And yes, it's an honor to be here with you. I am finally here on Naked Sunday. It's kind of like a little game show thing. I got called up. Yay!
We need like buzzers. We need buzzers and lights and like chime sounds and whatnot in the background, like slot machines. We need the whole bit.
All that good stuff.
All the good stuff.
Good to be here, brother.
Aside from the fact that you're rocking a sick outfit, like your bright green blazer and your sick Pac-Man Game On shirt, I'm loving it. You know, at this point, I love to share why I appreciate my guest, because I believe we need to do more of this in the world. We need to start telling each other why we love each other. But something that I distinctly enjoy about you that I find really unique is that you bring fun and play to authenticity and love and sharing and caring. A lot of people just use play and distraction as well, that just to numb out and distract and to like shut off from life. And what I find is that you use it in a way in all aspects of your life that allows people to come back to like communicating with themselves, touching base with themselves, asking themselves deeper questions, but doing it in a way that's it's fun and palatable, and it makes it less scary, and it allows people to open the door to what you and I both really are attracted to, is personal development and sense of self-growth. And you know, our entire relationship, we've been very upfront and open and honest with each other from day one. And
oh my God, yes.
That's like, bro, in this day and age, that you can't ask for much more. You really can't. So I just want to share, like, that's been something that's really stuck out to me in every single interaction I've had. It brings joy to me. I've even told you, like, dude, sometimes I struggle to know how do I just have fun with certain things, and just you bringing substance and bridging the gap between those things is there's a lot of tact, and it's really purposeful, and it really does hold a great space for those who are looking to have fun but be introspective at the same time.
Right.
You're just an awesome human being, man. So thank you for being you.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate being on your show. I'll look forward to being on the next one. Are we done here? Is that it? That was great.
Ding. Like, that's the pitch, that's the close, that's the everything all there.
I love it. No, I really appreciate what you said, and I was taking it in, and my mind was firing. Oh my God. I was thinking about all the conversations we've had, all the ways that you've been real to me, the ways I've been real to you. And just, again, this is Naked Sunday. You're not going to hear any bullshit, if you will, between the two of us, like hearing it the way it is. And I really appreciate what you said about what I do and my intentions are with this business, because it didn't quite honestly start off that way. And of all things that I have to thank, and I'm thinking of this, and I'm like, geez, I'm gonna have to thank this beast of a thing, but I have to actually thank COVID in some ways, or the pandemic, for putting us in this situation where my business model was originally just fun, just get out there with some games, get people to think. And again, the intention was probably the same, but I didn't think about it the same way. So it was coming from a different way. It was definitely coming in a way of entertaining people. Like, man, people really need a different way to find an outlet. I always saw different things that were entertaining us, whether you go to a trivia, whether you go to something else that was around our area. And I wanted to do something a little bit outside the box. So this is where I went with my model, with game shows, just doing some game shows and some fun things. But then the pandemic came. And I didn't want to leave the business by any means. I didn't want to lose the idea of a venue. And I thought about it more and more. And I said, no, I can make this different. Like, what are other people going through? They're going through the same problems, the same stresses, the same insecurities, fears, whatever, what have you. And what breaks me out of these things? I know it's usually fun time with friends, laughter, and I forget about those things. You forget about those things. Everyone forgets about those things when we do that. And that's when it became more intentional. And that's when I started to think about the business in a whole new light. And I think that was the difference in the business, quite honestly. So thank you for bringing that up, Caleb.
Bro, like, just from personally experiencing it, we had our little networking event, our little mixer, a month ago now? Did I already been 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 5 weeks?
I think it's been, wow, yes.
Just like the opener. like the icebreaker game where people are just walking back and forth. You got a little movement going, so that already brings a little levity, and just asking warming up questions. Just like there's so much tact in learning how to deal with group dynamics and making people feel safe and still getting a little giggle and like getting everybody involved. It was
Yeah.
really a joy to watch you work. Like I have, this is like a what's the word? I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure because it's not guilty at all. It's like one of my deep joys is just watching people in their element.
Okay.
I don't care what it is. It could be playing fucking tiddlywinks. If somebody's super driven by it and they love it
Right.
and they're like deeply passionate and they could hear their story behind it and I could watch it unfold, it's like for me, I get to hit pause on my life and I get to walk a little bit in their shoes and I can see the world from their lens, from their purview. And I
Yeah.
really find a deep sense of satisfaction and joy watching those who are truly great because they make it simple. You don't even know what hit you, but then when you sit back and you watch what happened afterwards and you
Yeah.
replay it in your mind, you go, oh, that's what happened there. That's what happened there. These are the underlying principles of what just went down. I love that. And how did we
Yeah.
even get there in the first place? How did somebody develop that skill set? Well, that's
Yeah.
indicative of XYZ. Like those are things that are really important to me as a human being because, especially on the path to personal development, it's knowing like everybody has their, we'll call it their shtick. Like everybody has their vehicle for how they grow, and they see the success in a very unique, we'll call it quantifiable means. You know, we'll say like in fitness, it's like, oh, I can see my six pack abs, or I have X% body fat, or if it's in business, I can create this amount of money, or I can have this much staff, or I can make this type of impact, or like those types of ideas. Like there's a specific vehicle, and
Right.
watching your vehicle in such a like a playful way, what really puts people at peace is really, I mean, it's cool. And again, I get to just like sit back and be a consumer. Like
I
I know
like
what
that
it,
you were in my I like that you were in my vehicle and you were holding on very tight with your both hands on the steering wheel. I love that. Because I did notice you observed. You were doing a lot of observing, which is if anyone knows Caleb and you speak to Caleb, Caleb can speak. Caleb knows how to use his voices and his words. I'm not trying to say anything about his gift of gab, but I'm just trying to say that to see Caleb in a different environment and to kind of observing and watching is a very interesting thing because I wasn't sure what I was getting into with this guy. I was like, is he just going to be talking the entire time? I'm totally just kidding, by the way. I love you so much. You know that, you know that, you know that. But I had to say that at some point in time. But it really is interesting to see you actually sit there and watch. And yes, when I came there that day, I even told you, I don't know what we're going to be doing that day necessarily. I know that I came with about 5 or 6 games, and damn, am I prepared. I'm prepared, but prepared in a different way. I'm ready to take everyone else's vibes in. I'm willing to take in the Caleb's. Is Caleb going to be, you know, talking with this group over here? Is he going to create a different dynamic? And now I need to shift my game. And what am I doing? Actually, that's what happened. Everyone met outside. We were meeting inside. Everyone shifted to outside. And I felt there was an amazing dynamic with that. Let's run with that. Stay outside. Let's make the game outside. And we did. And we had a great time with that. We switched it up. And again, a lot of these things are me using people as as my guinea pigs, if you will. I hate to use that word, but it's the word I like to use, or the phrase I like to use. And it's so true. But the best things sometimes come out of that. It's not, again, it's not unorganized, it's organized, but it's going to, I have to feel everyone. I have to feel everyone's personalities. I could tell you that if I had a group of, and I'm not trying to put any industry down, but if I'm saying bankers or something like that, and there's a word association that happens in your head, you think conservative, you think more reserved, you think all these things, versus a group of comedians or something, I have a different audience and I have to play with that audience differently. So I appreciate, again, you bringing that up. It's something that I appreciate you saw too. And you saw how I work, if you will. It's kind of fun, right?
yeah. And I like the rib on me talking. Like I'm fully aware of it. My wife will, if she is listening, because I don't know how many episodes she actually does listen to, she'd be rolling right now like, oh my God, thank you somebody else for calling him out on his shit. Like I have to listen to this all day long. I get on my soapbox and practice my speeches all the
Yeah,
time around her. So,
it's so
but
fun. It's so
I,
fun.
as much as I love to talk, I really enjoy listening. I love
Yeah,
stories. I love storytelling, and storytelling is an abstract idea to me. What you were doing was telling a story, but really in that that first game was allowing other people to tell their story themselves without ever saying a word. So to give people context, what happened, actually, I'll let you share what happened because it'd be easier to describe because you're the one who set up the game.
Yeah, so it was excellent. Everyone was outside, like I said, and I had a game called Switch Sides If. Switch Sides If, which some people may recognize, is a very easy game you can play. Just have to set up with certain statements, if you will, and they may be a statement like, "I prefer dogs to cats." And what we have you do at that point in time, we have an equal set of people on one side, an equal set on the other side, and there's no rhyme or reason for that. It's just to keep it equal. And then what we do is once you have heard a statement about yourself, you switch sides. And it has everyone kind of at the same time, not only listening, has them watching and observing the other people, not only are you observing that they switch sides, which means that that statement is true about them, but you kind of notice what they're thinking and doing. They're smiling maybe as they walk across. I think I had one, "Do you have a tattoo?" And then maybe someone kind of hesitated, they jerked a little bit, and then they moved. Like, what was that about? I read that off of someone. And by the way, I love reading people and love the idea of nonverbal communication. Part of the reason why I do these things is to pick up on that and then talk about it and tell people what I observed about them. And I love doing that in my poker things, but I also, my poker sessions or my poker networking events, but I also love just doing that in my game sessions too. There's ways to pull from that as well. And it helps people learn, helps people see what they maybe don't even recognize they're doing. Maybe it's the arm cross thing that people like to do. And you're saying something to people, whether you realize it or not. So just important to think about those things.
Well, the other cool part to what you did is you made a game really fun. I mean, it's very similar to Never Have I Ever, which is a drinking game.
Yeah.
But you're making it movement based, right? You're crossing the path, so there's a healthy mindset. It becomes very inclusive for those who are maybe perhaps not partaking. You know, if somebody wants to, like, sure, that's fine too. But you're right. You're bringing out more physical cues, and for anybody who's listening. Well, if this is aired ever on YouTube, which it will eventually be when I get my act together. The if you own a business, i.e., you're basically also responsible for marketing and sales, you better know how to read people, and body language is wicked important. Let me change that. If you want to be influential in any way, shape, or form, you want to get a job, you want to date the person of your dreams, you want any of those things, you better learn how to read people. Because reading people to me is a massive act of empathy. You have to
Yes.
You have to shut up both verbally and like physically and just make yourself still while you absorb what's happening, while you hold the space for somebody else to just be.
Yeah.
That's so powerful. And you did that with a really fun game, and it got people moving, and it's a cool group thing. And what it really does, not only is it starting the conversation, like, why did that person do that? But it does open, like, we all started talking. We all started getting a little giggly, and you didn't even have to do the rest of it. Like, you dropped that thought, that inception into a group, and just let it take itself over. And
right.
I mean, it takes.
I try to guide you a little bit, but in some ways that you have to have some guidance. But then from there, yeah, you take off with it. And Caleb, not to interrupt
No, please do.
too much, but I want to get this one thought before I forget. And you know how I am with my thoughts. My thoughts are fleeting, and if they don't happen right then and there, they're gone. So part of that group dynamic was interesting too, is that I say the statement myself. So I'm the one saying it. A lot of the things that I like to do are self-deprecating. I think it takes the pressure off of the group. But in some ways, I'm saying that statement, and then all you have to do is move. So there's a little bit less pressure there, and there's also people moving with you. So you feel like you kind of move with them. There's less pressure than me doing it with two people or one person for that matter, and have you walk back and forth every single time I say that. I guarantee you when I do that in a single setting versus I do it in a group setting or a double setting or triple setting, that people will not tell the truth, or they'll be more hesitant to be honest with themselves and say that because they may not want to divulge that. And I said that in the beginning. Lie, do whatever you'd like to do. That's up to you. But I'm asking you to try to be honest with yourselves. You know, I don't want to put you in any awkward situation if I said, who likes to pick their nose? I don't want everyone running across the way and be like, oh my God, Caleb picked, like I try not to pick things that were like that. And I'm using you for an excuse, but actually I was going to use you for an example. There was one that says, have you ever been electrocuted? And I think you said yes. And I'm like, well, that's a great example. Like later someone can go by and be like, hey, I was electrocuted too. Caleb, let's talk. Something in common, not, I mean, something drastic like that, but yes, trying to find some commonalities with people. I went from, some things that were more feeling based to things that were just very out there, cats and dogs. Do you like cats and dogs? Just things that were very base, and just to hit all those different levels with people. And again, tried this very same game in a different dynamic, with a whole different set of people, and threw some different questions in there. And it was amazing to see the same kind of results in that way. Same kind of engagement and same kind of interest that changed. We got people speaking a little bit more freely, which I love.
I'm going to continue to give you some credit here because I do not think enough people understand how hard it is to tactfully run a group. People think, oh, just get them in there and then just it's the same. It's just like one-on-one put to a group. Nope, not at all. Mm-hmm. Understanding the crowd means you have to target demo. So you have to understand how far am I going to push it? Like if you're not going to get super risque in a group like that. Also knowing when and how to like rib people, like who is appropriate to do that. Who are your people that are cool with that? You have to have a good understanding, but that takes a lot of time to develop in a one-on-one setting. And you have to like hone that craft. Being tactful in a group and to be able to elicit deep emotions in a group takes a lot of practice. So again, I'm only sharing all this because I've run group stuff before, and it is not, people don't know why, like when they walk into a room full of a bunch of people and they can go, like that. People like they won't even know. They'll just know something's off. They won't even, many times people don't even know how to verbalize it. They don't even know. But there's a lot of work that happens well beforehand for somebody to walk in and say, I'm ready to open up, be authentic, be real, to let the walls down. That is an art and a science in and of itself. So again, kudos to you, my friend, for
I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. I'm gonna reiterate it because I think it's the most important thing you said here today. It's reading people. It's all about reading people. That goes for your relationships, your personal relationships. And I think I've told you 1,000 times too, I love making that connection between poker and how people do that, how people get along, how people do their daily interactions. I think a lot of people don't think that they're doing it all day long. And I said, do you have kids? You're doing it all day long with the bluffing and the lying and the patience and the when to say things and when not to say things. It's all relatable. It's all the same thing, as are games. I mean, when is your right time to go? When do you decide to make that move? Do you take that in Uno? You save that one card. Are you going to use it now? Or are you going to use it later? It's nothing different. You can put any other metaphor, you put it in place of anything else in business or your personal relationships. When am I going to ask that question? When am I going to tell them that? I don't know if I can tell them that. Boom. It's all things that you have to read and know that other person. And if you read it the wrong way, well, you know what usually happens.
Well,
it can go the wrong way.
I just love that you're using it as a vehicle to create something deeper. And especially, I think about just business meetings. What most people are just like, they want, like, we're going to talk about personal development today. Like, awesome. Now you're just going to lecture me on personal development. Well, what if you like get in, like, yes, reading and being serious within oneself is incredibly valuable, but what if you can make personal development fun again?
Yeah.
What if you can? I don't think a lot of people ask themselves that. How can I make this fun? How can I make this digestible? There's this dogma that it has to be serious. It has to be this way. It has to be the.
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, especially in business, people feel like you can't have fun. I know there's a lot of people that realize that and they're better off for it. But the people that have to take things seriously all the time, I wonder about that in some ways and how their relationships go. I really do. Even down to emails. I try to make my emails different if I can. And it's not by purpose. I think sometimes it used to be, but I think now it just comes casually. It comes naturally to not almost vie away from the typical thank you, this has to go in the middle. This has to go at the end. No, flip that all out, switch it up and change it and see what happens in your life. It's amazing when you do those little things. By the way, Caleb, I just have to mention this one story because it hit me so much the other night and it got me thinking. I was going to my nephew's confirmation and had to listen to the bishop talk for a bit. And at first he sounded like he wanted to be relatable to the kids that were there. And he got going on and on and on and on and on and on. And I think he thought he was mentioning relevant things, probably hit on Facebook and some other somewhat relevant things, but he did not relate to those kids whatsoever. And more so, did not relate to the audience, the church. And I'm thinking to myself, I am bored out of my mind by what this guy is saying. He's not picking up on me. He's not catching me. Maybe he's resonating with others, but I really doubt it. And what way could he make this fun to make, I hate to say religion fun for the kids that are getting involved? They don't want to be a part of that. They don't want to be a part of something serious like that. Sure they do. They want to be a part of a ceremony that's serious and whatnot, but there's ways to engage them too. I'm not saying be disrespectful or laughing during it, but we have to engage them in a different way. And that's what I saw that night, made me think of everything that I'm doing in my business. Not that I say I'm doing everything right, but it made me think more about that. It made me think, geez, this guy's not, it may not, he may have the knowledge, may have everything. He's brilliant. He's got a lot of good things to say, but he's not relating. He's not relating.
Which ultimately, if you say you want to make a difference, isn't it about the person you're making a difference with?
Again, that was through my lens, my friend. So I'm hoping I wasn't being disrespectful, as I am a somewhat respectful person. But that seemed this seemed to be something I thought about. And
I thought that was massively appropriate. I think it's really important because don't get me wrong, I've been to some religious events and I've laughed my butt off. And there's other ones where dry as can be. But that's what I think about. And you talked about some of these people where it's like, if they feel like they need to have so much control over it and they can't have a giggle, or they can't take a breath, it makes me go like, do you not you don't need to be a full-blown comedian and take everything there's a spectrum, but if you can't appreciate the other side, do you really fully get it and comprehend the whole message? Because I feel like that misses the point. And I brought that statement up of people who rise to a place of, we'll call it authority or power, influence, if you will. You're responsible to those you serve, not the other way around. I've reflected on that a lot. And ultimately, if you're responsible to those you serve, you're responsible to communicate to them. The best way to land that message is through their language. If it's humor, use humor. Right. If it's math, use math. If it's whatever, every audience, every person is individual, and you might be best positioned to communicate to a specific audience, but the higher you climb, the broader your audience becomes. You have to take that into consideration. And I think that's what what you spoke to there about thinking about, hey, I've got 5 different games here. You're deeply prepared in all of them, but I'm going to read the room first. Yeah. I'm not just going to come here square peg round hole because I decided I wanted to.
Yeah. And that's, you have to do that in every situation. There's expectations that you don't always ask. And imagine coming up with a comedy routine and coming there and showing that they're all kids there and you had all peppered in with swear words and other things like that. Know your audience and know them intimately, and then being able to adapt a little bit is something. I'm not saying that I'm 100% adaptable, but I like to think that I can move on my feet pretty darn quick. But that's also something that I've been practicing with, and I've been probably practicing that my entire life and didn't know that, either through customer service, through whatever things I've been through in my life, and which led me to where I am now.
Well, I want to lean into that just a little bit for a second, because I think adaptability is a consequence of an initial preset notion of open-mindedness or curiosity, meaning you're open to other ways of doing it as a preset. It's not just my way is the only way. and it avails you to the experiences of what you just described, customer service, other things like that, which allowed
Right.
you to accumulate more experiences. And then while it looks like you're just off the cuff in a specific scenario, it's like, well, no, you just drew from your past experiences. Say like, yeah, that's going to
Cool.
fit. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to see that, because that's I can see that as well. I see that
I wanted
way
to
of
bring
thinking.
I wanted to bring this really interesting thought to mind because you touched on two interesting pieces here.
Yeah.
One was being contextually appropriate. So I'm just going to throw myself under the bus here. I just want I don't know if I shared this with you, but a couple of years ago, and by a couple means, I think like 4 years ago, I was asked to present over at St. Rose, something on entrepreneurship or leadership or whatever it was. And my wife
Yeah.
was finishing her master's at the time, so she actually could attend. So it was a group full of educators. I was invited by the principal of Shen, one of the principals of Shen. He's now retired. And I distinctly dropped two F-bombs in the middle of this thing. And I mean, they're
Classic.
all adults, all adults. And that was
Right.
my assumption. Like, we're all adults here. My wife was appalled, just straight up
Of course.
appalled. She's like,
Of course.
Caleb, you embarrassed me or whatever. Her friend, a good friend of ours, was sitting next to her, also working on her teaching thing. She was like, that got me fired. I mean, mind you, I was like on the brink of tears and choking up in the middle of this thing, talking about like my love of my friends and the people that helped me through this time and like who's been on the journey. Like to
Right.
me, and
Stemming
when
from passion.
it came from passion, and could I have tapered that? Sure. But it speaks to like the the principal was not happy with me. We'll put it that way. He had a little remark in there. It's like, I don't know if the sisters of
Yeah, right.
of St. Rose are very appreciative of some
You
of
got
those.
a good old talking to.
Basically, basically. And I didn't, to that effect, I didn't get invited
Cheers.
back. I didn't get invited back. So that was my own fault.
That's
But
good. That's good.
that's my personal
Anyway, I'm
experience
sorry.
there. Yeah. But I wanted to bring this other interesting insight to light just because I brought it up.
Yeah.
With like the higher you rise, you have to think like your audience is even more broad, and you have to account for that. So as opposed to people thinking about dumbing things down, which a lot of people think like keep it simple, stupid. That I understand that, but I prefer this word distill because you're refining the message. You're distilling it down to the most purest form of what is your intent you're trying to get across. And I didn't know if you know this, but um, all like great political speeches are written to like fourth or fifth grade reading level. And the reason to that is the average reading age is about fourth grade reading level in the United States, which we could take that one of two ways, like, oh my God, our average reading age is terrible. Or what we can realize is that's the baseline you just need to be able to like function. And then afterwards, like go down your specific like specialty, which I think is
Right.
my glass half full kind of perspective is like, do that. What would I like a higher reading level? Sure. But point I'm looking to make is like, when you think about when you're speaking to broader and broader and broader audiences, you have to become very clear and concise about what your message is and
Yes. Yes, you do.
understand the vehicle you're going to use to communicate. So I don't know why I needed to bring that up, but I just thought that it was relevant to the
Well, we had actually brought this up in a previous conversation, so I'm glad you said that. It's knowing your audience, but also telling your audience in a very simple form what you're all about. You should be able to do that at any point in time. I mean, yeah, you can use big words, you can do whatever. That's for eventual, that's for specifics, that's for whatever. If you're looking at a very broad group, you need to talk, yes, like a fourth or fifth grader, not because you need to talk like that or dumb things down to people necessarily, but people appreciate that. People just appreciate hearing the straight dope, if you will. And also it puts people at ease. I think if you do some other things, it may, get them tense or what have you. By the way, I just wanted to mention something as I'm thinking about, again, Caleb and I can probably do this rabbit hole thing where we just keep on thinking of topics down the way and have a streaming 10-hour podcast, which is not going to work on this forum, but can work eventually. The one cool thing that I like to think about is whenever I have a relationship, I think about this with Caleb, especially as we're still trying to figure this cat out, as I always say, still trying to figure out a relationship in a good way, in a really good, solid way, because I really like Caleb. But in some ways, for me, it's actually finding the edges, if you will. I almost imagine like being inside a balloon or like a thing of bubble gum, and someone just all of a sudden, they blew a big bubble and then they popped it. And now I'm trying to push and find the edges to that. And I'm like, did I I'm going to say that Caleb talks too much. And I went out there with that edge, and I went out there and I said that. Did Caleb get offended? Did he like it? Did he smile? Okay, I can keep on doing that I can kind of joke with Caleb. Caleb's got a good sense of humor. All right, now Caleb doesn't have a good sense of humor. I know that I can't do it. So I'm pushing and pushing on this bubble that's all over the place. And the more I push on this bubble, the more space I have, and the more space I'm able to open up with him. But initially, when I see him, that space is enclosed. And when I see people in a bigger setting, I actually do test the waters too. Sure, I say some things that may be inappropriate, or something that maybe it's in a game sequence. Maybe I'm putting people out there further than they want to be. And maybe I recognize that, or I'll definitely recognize that. But what I decide to do with it at that point, whether we decide to continue with it or not, is what makes a venue, which makes Tim Sokol, Caleb, and what we decide to do in our lives. But I like pushing the envelope. I like pushing the edge a little bit with people to find out where our relationship stands. And sometimes that's pushing the envelope. Sometimes it's saying some uncomfortable things or saying some funny things and seeing where you're at. That's who I am.
One, I really love that you do that. Two, you're probably finding it's very difficult to offend me, just because of this very next notion that I'm about to bring to the table. And this is from my CrossFit days. And ironically, my first business partner, he posts, like, he does like these little, he'll write on his iPad and then he'll post it, and it'll be his thought of the day on his Instagram. But it's a classic like CrossFit theme statement. It's, we fail at the margins of our experiences. So what you're bringing up is testing one's, that's really more in a fitness context, by and large. But when you take it and you take that and extrapolate it back out into the real world, where you're talking about, like, cool, push my buttons. That's going to make me stronger at the end of at the edges of my experiences. Cool. It's like, can I hang there? Can I just be in uncomfortable spaces? Can I have somebody poke and prod and whatever it's going to be? But I like that. And also, if we don't test the resiliency of a system, we don't know how strong it can be. We don't.
Oh my God, yes.
We don't feel
that's part of it as well.
But I think that's awesome, because if you're, and now that's where
you make assumptions. Otherwise, a lot of times you make assumptions about what other people are thinking, and then you don't test them because you don't test them. Why wouldn't you test them? If you cook food, you should try it before you give it to other people, so to speak. It's the same kind of idea.
That's a beautiful way to associate that with a great imagery. I really like that you brought that up, because not enough people are proactive about testing their system. They're like, oh, but I'm comfortable. Things will be okay. It's like, that's not the way the world goes. Guess what? There might be another pandemic. Oh, cool. Like, what did the pandemic teach you? Well, if you like put on a bunch of weight and you like weren't really healthy, well, like, there's gonna be a downturn again, whether it's a global pandemic or it's something else. Hey, did you learn? How are you stress testing yourself? Are you more resilient? Like, you still survived. So at least you are resilient enough to survive that. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to strengthen yourself for the next time? I think it's these stress tests. All they do is they ask you to evaluate, well, where's your weak point? And how do you shore that up so that you as a system can be more reliable, more stable, more consistent, even in the face of fluctuating, we'll call it chaos around us. So I love that you like how you describe that, but the art, that's the art right there. Just like, how do you feel that? It's a feeling thing. How do I feel the room when I drop that type of statement? Like, is that close enough? Like, I love what you did.
Thank you.
Which brings me to what is typically my first question, because we blew past it. We're a half hour into this thing, maybe longer, and probably 40 minutes in. Shit. You brought it up. It's like, that's what makes Tim's Tim. Like, okay, so to that effect, my friend, who are you?
Who am I? So I've heard you ask this question to other people, and I told myself that I would think of something really cool and have something prepared, and I don't. And to have this like cool aha moment. So who is Tim? I like to think of myself as a very simple person, even though I know I'm complex. I like to think of someone who can put a smile on a person's face, and to be a good friend. I consider myself to be an empath, number one, and I consider myself to be really close with my family and my friends who are part of my circle. And that's who I am, is a very basic I guess, human being, someone that believes in the good. I don't necessarily like to believe in parameters. If you're, like we mentioned religion earlier, sure, I have certain religions, certain, at the basic end of the day, can everyone just get along? Can everyone just have a good time and everyone be cool with one another? And that's my basic who is Tim, I guess. I'll leave it at that. That sounds like a good place to leave that.
To say something cool and maybe contextualize everything you said, what I heard is you strike me as the vehicle to which everybody can get along.
Sure, come along on the fun party bus with Tim, and by the time you're all done, I'll kick you out of the bus, and you'll all be better humans for it.
Yeah, but like if you can get somebody to laugh, you can be there when they cry. That's the spectrum. Like when you can get somebody to laugh with tears and then like hold the space when it's tears of sadness, that's powerful, man.
Caleb, I did something with your podcast, and I think I mentioned this right before we talked. I like to prepare for things, and arguably speaking, I like to over prepare for things. And I didn't prepare at all for this podcast. And there was a reason why I did that. I think I sometimes get caught in my own head and I have to say certain things. And one of the things that I wanted to say was I was probably going to mention my dad. And I already realized that when I started mentioning it, I started getting choked up. I started to already kind of imagine myself how my thoughts were and how I was talking about my dad to games and what I'm doing now. There was definitely some inspiration and things like that. And I was like, no, even if it does come up, which it came up anyway, but even if I'm going to say something like that, I would like for it to just to come naturally this time around. There's plenty of opportunities for me to think about things and get things out there the way I want them. But I even imagine myself being in that moment, and I don't know why we got here, but in some ways a little bit more the serious side of Tim, seeing what side of Tim. I think a lot of people think of Tim as maybe the games guy, the fun guy, whatever. And I think I'm an extrovert big time, but I also have my introvert moments, and I need those moments so that I can also be extrovert Tim. If I don't have those moments, extrovert Tim can't exist.
So I love that you said that.
Yeah.
I really do. And I've come to realize that most comedians, like there's a lot of comedians that have a really dark side. And we always like to go like, oh my God, Robin Williams, like this happened, or Farley or whatever. It's like, there's a reason. Usually there's a reason. It's like, I feel this way. I don't want other people to feel that way. But you brought it up, and that really intrigues me because obviously I've had a pretty interesting journey with developing a relationship with my own father. And I think we find ourselves in an interesting place in history where reconnecting that father-son bond is of deep importance.
Right.
You brought it up. I'd love to hear you explore how your relationship with your father perhaps affected and influenced and inspired how this gamesmanship and this the fun in personal development has come about. Start wherever you want, man. I'd love to just you haven't really elicited that yet. I haven't heard you share too much of the inspiration through him yet.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up as well. And I guess because we're going to talk about it now.
Yeah, let's do it.
In some ways, I'm probably going to be all over the place. I have some things that I probably want to share that may not come out, but here goes. The one thing that I think about when I thought about my relationship with my dad, or even just in general, as a person who knew my dad was a very interesting person, I think he was an intelligent person, very excellent at cards, a well-read person. I wouldn't say that you would find him that guy that would be on stage. So no, you wouldn't find him being a similar personality to mine in that respect. But in the same way, I look back on it and I think about my dad and how he used to like to joke with other people, how he used to like to make other people laugh. And maybe he wasn't the person standing on stage doing it, but he was definitely making people laugh in some way, shape, or form, maybe acting goofy. He definitely liked his t-shirts, which I thought about not too long ago. And I'm like, wow, that's weird. Just in general, I think he would like to have people, it's would he like to have people laugh at the end of the day? I think because that's what I like to have. I don't know there, but what I do know is he inspired me in the way of business, in the way of going for my passion. As my dad was passing away, and as those things were happening, I was beginning this business, and a big thing of that was I was afraid that I was going to disappoint my dad.
Really?
Because my dad passed before he got a chance to see what this business was all about for me and where the business is now leading. And I have conversations with him in my own way, literally speaking to him out loud and saying, you know, Dad, I know you're up there, and I know you're going to be proud of me because I'm kicking ass and I'm making other people happy. And I know you're watching down on me. And so, I have those moments. I have those moments of thinking about those things and wanting to make him proud, just as a general aspect, whether he was dead or alive, whether he was with us or not. And so there's a little bit more. There's a little bit more at stake for me behind that. You know, there's a little bit more than I probably speak to normal people about, and let people know that that is a big motivation for me, as well as is getting out there. If we didn't have to make, I think I've told this sentiment to a lot of different people. If we didn't have to make a buck all day long, I would love to just make people happy and connect people all day long. Unfortunately, we need to make some money here and there, so let's do it in a fun way. At least that's why I'm doing it for my business. I want to have fun, and I want to connect people, and I want to do it for this reason, and that's why I'm doing it. And I know that, again, my dad would have been very proud of the direction I'm heading in, and that's the reason why I'm doing it, from him and my family. And for Brandon, of course, my love of my life, doing it for Brandon.
She's fantastic, man. I gotta tell you this. I really, more than anything else on this episode, just being able to be vulnerable enough about that type of emotion, that whole shit of like boys don't cry, that thing. I think
No.
we've talked about this, but if anybody's never
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
it's called what's the
We just
documentary?
have a
It's called,
therapy session.
it's okay, brother.
Sorry.
It's therapeutic. Hey, there's nothing to apologize for, brother. I really like, you know this about me, and I share
Yeah,
this. Like, my strange addiction is tears because it's honest. And holy shit, like, man, if we could just mainline honesty into everybody and to just know, like, wow, is that person being real with me? Tears is almost that. It's about as close as we're gonna get to that, to being like, yep, that's real.
Yeah.
But what you shared there and that vulnerability, and a lot of people think like, oh, crying is a sign of weakness. No, if you're gonna cry about something that matters. My mom said that to me, and that's actually one of my greatest gifts she's ever given me. So like, if you're gonna cry about something, it better fucking matter. She didn't use an F-bomb, but I'll use it. But I think about it, it's like, you know what? There's some starving kids over somewhere. Like, am I gonna cry about that? You know what? That impacts me. It makes me feel something. Wow, yeah, cry about it. If I lost somebody that means something and I can feel their love, and I feel sorrow for somebody, like, man, I'm gonna share that, and if I'm gonna feel it, that's real. If I'm gonna stub my fucking toe and cry about like, oh, I didn't get like a Mercedes Benz instead of like my Honda Civic or whatever it is, like, that's bullshit. That's just like, that's not substance. But sharing something like that is so powerful.
Thank you for saying that, Caleb. The one thing that I like to, and I was just thinking about this as you were saying it, you know, you mentioned the word cry. I think cry right there just says a lot of things, instead of saying what you typically do, which when you're crying, what are you doing? I mean, forget the act of actually crying. What is making you crying? You're coming from a point of being emotional, from wanting something, missing something, liking something, loving something, hating something, whatever it is. If you take the circumstance of my father, he passed, I loved him, I cared for him, there's emotion behind that. If my father was a despicable person and I hated him, I would not be crying for him. I may still care for him. There might be some other things. When you say care, crying, there's certain words around that become important, or maybe you get a visual when you hear that. For me, when crying, I think was always seen as like a negative kind of thing. And it's seen as a negative thing. I don't take it as a negative thing. It's seen as negative. But where is it coming from? It's coming from emotion. It's coming from something where you want to elicit your emotions. If the emotion is laughter, shit, I have this relationship, call it what you will, with my father now, where I speak to him out loud. He has found my keys many times. He has done some crazy, wacky things, but I speak to him out loud. And yeah, maybe I feel a little crazy for it, but I laugh sometimes when I'm in a cry mode, and it helps me get out. I start crying like, well, in some ways I need to turn this around, and I start laughing. I'm like, Dad, sometimes you can't win them all, and I laugh it off. But I use his name, I speak to him, and maybe it helps me for whatever reason. But again, I like to turn that around eventually, like to turn those feelings around. Doesn't mean you're a crybaby all day long or you take them, but yes, you should definitely respect, or what's the word for it?
I like that word. I like respect a
Respect, and
lot.
there's another word I'm saying, like, and or it's validate what you're seeing. You're seeing something, you can validate it by doing whatever you want to do. You craft, live, or laugh, cry, do whatever you want, but validate it, and validate it by doing something important, something that means something to you.
Especially like, I started this episode off like, shit, I appreciate you, man. Why can't we
Yeah,
say
I
that?
appreciate you,
And
brother.
I see things like, it's ironic enough we're talking about this. Well, last night I was kind of like in my half slumber before I actually knocked out, and I was having a vision of I was fortunate enough to know my great grandparents on my mother's side, Meme and Pepe. And my great grandmother, Meme, she passed probably like, I think like 6, 7 years before he did. And now, mind you, they'd been through the war in France. She saved him like from the Nazis once. Like, so they've been through some shit, like bad stuff. And
Yeah.
I think about the life they built together. And I just remember these moments where I would just see him in his chair and he would just talk about it, and you just start seeing these tears run down his face. I'm like, shit, I can't comprehend that.
No.
That's powerful. And here's a man who like was a plumber. He like had so many, like, from poverty, from stuff. Like, you want to say that's not
Yeah.
a man, but like at the end of the day, I'm getting choked up. Shit, here we go. Told you. Vulnerability, brother.
It's a good ride, my friend.
How prophetic that I had this thought last night. I'm just like, man, that's a man. Now, why are we not sharing that type of love early in our life? What could we have avoided if we told the people we gave a shit about how much they meant to us? Not just once, not just on big ceremonies, maybe just a little more often. What if we understood each other's love language and said, fuck you, fuck it, I care about you, I love you? What if
Yeah.
we just did that more often? And like, I know how I feel when somebody tells me they love me. It's pretty hard for me to be angry at you. I don't care. I don't give a shit what you did. You will deflate the problem because you come back to like, wait, oh, like I matter to you.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, maybe we are on the same team. Oh, wait, okay. What are we actually fighting about here? Is it really the thing we're fighting about, or is it something else? Oh, and all of a sudden, we come back to, how do we just get along? How do we find a way to how do we all get along, man? Like,
That's true.
but it came from this deep revelation right now. And again, I have to thank you for bringing this type of reflection to the forefront, because seeing that and being so fortunate to see a man who lived past 100 have that type of love and depth and
Yeah.
feeling at that end of his life, and you to share that connection, that now, though your father's not with you in the physical space, but you still have this connection beyond that, and you still feel that love, and it still gets you choked up, and it still makes you feel connected, but you can laugh, you can cry, you can everything in between. Like, shit, man, that, like, if we don't
Yeah.
understand that to be a very powerful and beautiful and valuable thing, I feel like we're just missing out on a big meaning of life and all of that, because that's how we just
Yeah.
know we matter, So again, thank you
Yeah.
for I just went off on
No,
a tangent for a second.
no,
So
no, you didn't. You mentioned some beautiful things. My mom reminds me of these awesome things. We have some great conversations around these things, and it's important to remember. But I appreciate you, man, and I appreciate you getting sensitive and tell me what you're all about. And again, we've had this talk many times, and so I'm actually surprised that we got here in this conversation. I thought this would have been left for some of our future conversations, but here we are. It's great. And yeah, I think guys in general often think about what other guys are going to think right away. So if I had to think about what I was feeling right then and there, that may have clammed me up and made me realize I was in a different audience. And maybe if I was in a different audience, there was 15 guys behind you, maybe I wouldn't have gotten that emotional, but I beg to differ because that's who I am as a person, and I would have come out the way who I am anyway. But in a general sense, yeah, you kind of perform to your crowd in a lot of different ways. So to say that it wouldn't have changed, it would have changed in some way, shape, or form, just because that's just the nature of things. But anyway, yeah, talking about tangents, I love our tangents. I love our chats. I really do.
We did,
Yeah, they're
I
beautiful.
didn't bring it up earlier because I was like, you had said like I got to get this thought out otherwise, but I was I immediately wanted to say, ooh, piece of candy, ooh, piece of
No, no,
candy.
no. I, and by the way, I like that. Where did he go? Where did he go? Oh, there he
I
is.
just had to bend over and laugh, man. Holy shit.
Um,
Oh,
Family Guy and everything else. I like other people. I like people that can bring things in relation. I always relate things to things I've seen on TV because that's just the goofy way I am. If I'm not talking about Seinfeld or talking about how it relates to The Office, you probably haven't heard my conversations before. But yeah. So I'm sorry, brother. You were talking before I got off on.
I don't know. I don't even know where I was going,
No, it
man.
was piece of candy. You were about to say something.
I don't know. It was just, oh, I wanted to bring it up because like if I say ooh, piece of candy right now, we would have gone on a tangent when you were literally told me, no, I need to get this thought out. So
Well, you should have done that because I've interrupted you plenty of times,
oh,
and
it's all
it's.
good.
I think you put this perfectly, or someone else put this perfectly. I have a nervous excitement about myself, and if sometimes I'm not thinking clearly, and if you had said something, I would have gone off into a different topic or whatever. So whatever, we're all good. We're all good. I
All
just
good.
appreciate you. I appreciate you having me. I appreciate our new friendship that we've come across, and yeah, I like talking to people that are like-minded and people that get me. I think a lot of times Caleb and I can have a conversation. And me, by the way, this is like we're talking like not even a month of conversations and not even a full month of conversations at that, since we've known each other, but staying able to get each other. So that's why I think there's a cool vibe between the two of us. So I'm appreciating it.
It clicks, brother. And it's been a
Yeah.
true joy. Which perhaps maybe this is a great time for us to start talking a little bit about what we are collaborating on, because
Yes.
I think that's where the fun comes to play. So I'll let you do the honors about some of the things that we're working on together.
So when you said piece of candy, that's what I thought you were going to mention. Like you were thinking about the piece of candy. This was the piece of candy, Caleb. All right. Thank you for letting me have this moment. Caleb and I have been having a lot of conversation, and part of having these conversations and these real conversations, guys, thinking about the direction of and the support that we would like to provide other people, other men specifically, but other people in a general sense, because that's what we do in a general sense. We help other humans. And so Caleb and I want to start and begin our own men's empowerment group. And as we're still, I would say that we're probably 95% on a name. I'm going to leave the name out of it at this point, if you're okay with that, Caleb.
I am.
But we are pushing forward with this, and a natural offspring
Wah, wah,
is
wah.
what is a baby, beautiful baby podcast baby boy that is going to be happening on Wednesdays, called, I can at least tell them we're going to be calling that, right? That's at least something.
I'm so hyped
So,
about this name.
and nothing, groundbreaking here, but we're calling it the Hump. And for several reasons. Not only are we taking off of the typical Hump Wednesdays, yes, that's not the meaning or the big thing. We'd also thought about what the hump means, the hump in general. There's a little bit of a slang behind it. I see a hump as a person who is just a hump of a person. They're a lump on society. Perhaps they don't necessarily always get it. And so during our discussions, we will have maybe a vote or a way to kind of comment in our comments to see who maybe is the hump of that conversation. Maybe the person that didn't quite get it, person who said it better, would be the opposite of the hump. But we're going to have you vote on who that hump person is. Maybe that idea isn't fully fleshed out yet, but that's the basic idea, I think, that we're getting at. And also just to be a support group for men, a place to go. We eventually want to take this to so many more awesome places, taking it live, But this is where we're starting off, and we're hitting on some pretty awesome topics that I think everyone will enjoy, not just only men, but I think women would actually enjoy some of these topics and see where this is taking their men in their lives, or their other women in their lives, or other men in their lives, or other women in their lives.
With, of course, a little bit
Yeah.
of humor along the way. We're going to definitely bring some game stuff to this. I'm really excited. And we basically are going to help people get over the hump. I'm pretty hyped about it. I really, really am.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a lot of fun, which
Yeah.
I get to be in the passenger seat, which I'm really excited about.
I am putting you on my lap on the driver's seat, buddy. You'll be pressing the gas. I'll let you turn the knob. I'll let you turn the windshield wiper. You can have some fun with that. Won't let you play with the radio. I don't know what your music is all about, but you can have a fun time. We're not getting, there's don't get any imagery of him sitting on my lap and thinking, he's my buddy. He's my good friend. He'll be using the stick shift, all that fun stuff. But we're definitely going to take it to you in a fun way, and we're going to get you thinking. I like to think of us as maybe a little bit of a roller coaster ride. We're going to bring you through some good, some bad, some ugly, but at the end of the day, we're going to bring you back home. You'll be safe. You'll be better for it. I think we have some really interesting things to say. I think we're interesting people, and damn, we're good people.
As far as my choice in music, I have my workout playlist on Spotify, and I've had a few people actually reach out to me and tell me they've really enjoyed it. And they're like, "You really thought about this. I hear it curated." So maybe we will explore that. Maybe we'll add that. Maybe that will be playlist. That will be maybe one of our themes of it. Like, who's the hump of the playlist? I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. I wish some ideas, and I'd love to hear other people's ideas on that. I love to actually, of course, anyone listening here. I love if you're a gentleman, or if it doesn't matter if you're a gentleman or not, if you can suggest of someone who you think that they would like to be a part of this group, someone who would be like-minded in that effort, please have them reach out to either Caleb or myself. I'm sure if they're listening to Caleb, they're listening because they're an awesome friend of Caleb's, or perhaps they're supporting me and they're listening my way. But if you are, and you're a gent, or again, someone who wants to support the gents, someone who you think would be like-minded, please reach out to us. Love to hear from you.
I love it, bro.
Shameless plug.
It's okay. That's the great part about this podcast. Shameless plugs are fine with it. We knew we were going anyway.
Exactly.
Again, I'm excited about having a creative means. I've been, and I'm sure you've had people suggesting for a while, but I've had people suggest for a long time that I start a men's group or some type of men's mentorship type of thing, just because I think a lot about right now, like, we had this conversation. There's not a lot of rites of passage. There's not a lot of guidance or formal guidance or semblance of like guidance after you graduate college or whatever that, if you do go to college, if you get latched on with a mentor or something like that in your business life or something else, like you're fortunate enough to have that. I know a lot of people don't necessarily have strong relationships with their fathers, which was the traditional like model. Like, this is exciting for me where we can have a collaborative, basically almost like a mastermind of people that are, and this is not something where we're gonna have some fun, like, don't get me wrong, but people are looking for a different way to connect. It's not about it's not the swipe right, swipe left culture. It's not that kind of like, we're just gonna go out and try to just get laid. Like, that's not what this is about. This is about like, well, how do we share and understand? And yes, let's have some fun. Maybe we'll have a night where we go out for drinks and like, maybe like learn how to make cocktails, or just like we have had plenty of ideas that we're throwing around. But I think it's important that, like, how do you learn how to have fun but also bring substance to your life and enrich it? Like, what if you're having a tough time in your marriage? Like, plenty of other guys have had a tough time, they don't know how to talk about it. Who do I talk to about this? Like, I'm just like banging these thoughts against the four walls of my skull, as opposed to like, oh, that my buddy right there is going through a tough time. How about we help them there and see how we can work through this? Because what if that actually saves a marriage? That sounds pretty cool to me. That sounds like an awesome thing. Like, what if we could avoid some unnecessary pain along the journey? And ultimately the trickle down effect, I believe, is usually pretty cool from that. So
no, I agree 100%. And also I'd like to mention that the reason why I'm so happy to be a part of this group or start this group is because Caleb is a little bit of a follower, from what I understand. He had been So he likes people that can kind of lead him. So there was something interesting about that fact. And so I kind of went along with that. No, I'm totally just kidding, Caleb. I just wanted to see you smiling, my good friend.
I was just like, oh my God, you have
Where's
great
it going with
sarcasm.
this?
Yeah, I didn't
Where's
know
it
where it
going
was
with this?
going. I
No.
didn't know where it was gonna end up. You have great comedic
But
timing. You really do. Oh my God.
but yeah, more same to your point, and kind of reiterating the same fact. Everything that we talked about today kind of actually moves forward with what we were mentioning, in having a safe space to talk, in talking about these things. Again, I can say this openly about my father. My dad wasn't probably the most. I would say he's the most loving person in the world. I wouldn't say he was an openly communicative person, or he wasn't the most he was the biggest communicator in the world. And that was fine. He communicated in other ways. I always think about us, and I think about this in respect of Caleb. I'm going to take another whatever side turn here. But Caleb and I complement each other with certain things. I think there's certain things Caleb sees in me, sees that fun side, whatever, and I think likes to be around that. I like to be around some of the things that Caleb is a little bit more contemplative of, I guess. He likes to think about certain things. I like to get in his head with those things. So we have a nice complement to our relationship, and I really enjoy that. And that's where I feel like it could be a big. That's why I think this podcast is going to be awesome. I think our relationship is quite unique in that respect, and I just appreciate it. I think it's just so cool to find that in someone else and want that in someone else. Like I want to know more about Caleb to be a better person too. I don't want to just know Caleb to be a better friend or a good friend. Yeah, sure I do. And that's actually it's happening at the same time, which is quite amazing. I'm becoming his friend. We're also seeing where we fit, maybe in this whole idea of helping others and still holding space for one another. It's really cool. It's a really cool time to be alive. No, but it's a really cool time to be a part of this group too, to see where we're going with this, and seeing if that's something that interests you as well, and see if we can help you in that same journey.
It's living the dream, brother. I'm really
Yeah.
enjoying this episode, my friend. Like it's gonna be one of many beautiful conversations, and I don't know. I just feel very grateful. I'm in a place of just like distinct gratitude in my life, and it really is almost like a superpower once you tap into that. It seems almost like just all the people you need in your life just fall into place. It's like there they were. Why wasn't this? But well, if we weren't grateful enough, we weren't appreciating all that was already there.
Yeah.
We block ourselves from seeing the thing that was right in front of our face the entire time. So it's been really cool.
And or was it meant to be? I like to think now more than ever that I mentioned this word earlier, but I think about circles, and I've said it more in conversation. I'm hearing myself say it more, but my circle is a very important circle. And I'm seeing that as a very important circle now, that I just don't let anyone in that circle. And those people that are in the circle are, I have to say it, but they're privy to a lot of really cool things in my world. And if they don't want to be a part of it, I'm okay with that. But it means a lot for them to be in that group. And, I would say it's kind of like an honor. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. It's an honor to be in your circle too, Caleb, in anyone's circle. If someone's in your circle, they should be honored to be a part of that circle. There's something amazing. There's something wonderful about you that they're saying, that they want to be a part of your circle. So I'm trying to keep those circles like-minded and trying to keep them positive. I think anyone would agree that if you keep around people that are not so much like-minded, and people that are always talking about hate or talking about other things, you're going to eventually absorb that. You're going to rub off on it one shape or form. Whether you're thinking about it and thinking about how you want to repel it, you're still thinking about it in one shape or form. I'm trying to limit those things, so I don't have to think about those things I don't like anymore. I can concentrate on the things that are positive to me, and so I'm trying to keep my circle as clean as possible. So there's my circle, and don't get it dirty. Wipe off your feet before you walk in, Caleb. The need for your shit.
My wife would love hearing that. I might just tell her, you gotta listen to this just to get like an hour and a half in, just so you could hear him say that, and you'd be like, yeah, because she gets so pissed. Like when I come home, you can basically just follow a trail of my shit to right where I'm sitting on the couch. Follow the yellow brick, Caleb.
Shoe.
everything.
Naked Caleb.
Naked
Caleb's gonna be
Caleb.
naked somewhere. You're gonna find the trail of clothing someplace. Yeah.
It's very fitting for the
Lexi,
end.
Lexi must be she must be a saint of some sort, taking care of that. I understand.
That's an accurate description.
Yeah.
Like, I will openly say I'm not a very easy person to be in an intimate relationship with by any, because I can be very demanding on certain things, and
Yeah.
there's like on certain things I care. There's very few things that are like hard triggers for me, and like they all just are just an example. Like it's more of a theoretical thing. It comes down to my core values. It could be about a pencil, and if it violates the core values, nope. Like I will dig my heels in till the end of time. If it's not about that, then I just don't care. Like almost everything else doesn't matter. And but that I mean, I usually push the boundaries pretty fast because I want to find out, hey, where do we stand on that stuff? Let's get to that point, and then I know, hey, you're like I and referencing inner circles, massive believer in the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, because I think that they're mirrors or reflections of what you think of yourself and what you hold dearest to you. And I've heard this before: what you permit, you promote. And like, if you're allowing that type of energy, is like, well, I'm permitting that in the world. Nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep that clear. And also, a lot of people think that's like a really selfish move. Off the rip, it might sound that way, but if that's what allows you to go out and be selfless and to give to others who need your actual help, the trickle down effect of that long-term kindness is massive. If you don't have the courage to do that up front, you don't realize how much pain and suffering you are eliciting on the back end. Most people think about like, oh, it's just gonna like, we're gonna wipe the problems clean right now because I just want people to feel bad. No, that's kind of like what most people think of like a dad. It's like dad holds the line, being the responsible. He's no fun. Like, well, no, because if you think about it, over time you go like, shit, he was right. I get it now. I remember having a conversation with my dad when we went on our 2-week trip back in April. I was like, I get it. I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. I understand, because you have to go through enough pain to then be able to look out into the world and see the signs and symptoms early on and go, that's going to lead to this problem. That takes wisdom and experience. And it is a deep kindness. And sometimes it is sharp and it's direct and it's telling you no, because you love enough to say that. Not everybody gets that. And I think that that's really important. It is a short term upfront. It might feel abrasive, but if you are somebody who has strong values and understands things and wants clarity, you'll respect the clarity more than anything, because like, thank you, because you made it easier for me to make a decision. I don't have to guess anymore. I can understand it's A or B. Am I in or am I out?
Yeah, you're right.
That's not, you can't ask for much more out of any relationship. You can't.
No, no, you're right. You can't. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing when it happens the right way.
When it happens the right way. When it happens the right way.
And by the way,
it's got to flow.
Lexi, Brandon, I have a theory about, at least Brandon, I imagine Lexi can go in the same boat, but I always tell her that she's going straight to heaven and passing purgatory. I've kind of given enough of that, like that test, if you will. So she's going to go straight up. There's no pass and go, that kind of thing. No collecting $200, just go straight to heaven. So I put her through some things, and I think it's because I do care, and I am an empath, and I do let her know how I feel, and I'm not willing to always let things just slide, if you will, because I want to have my input too. You know, I'm an evolving gentleman, just as Mr. Caleb is, and I'd like to think of myself as that. And I like to think that I'm always thinking of that opposite side. And of course, I'm going to stumble along the way, but I like to keep that in mind. So
I'll second that. My wife she got a straight shot. The path has been cleared just for dealing with my shit. So
it's all good. That's an episode by itself. For what reasons do they go to heaven? We'll make it a separate podcast for just that reasons.
We'll use a Monopoly set. It's like, do not stop, do not pass go, whatever it is. Like, you just get the free pass, something like that. We'll make a sick board game around that. That's a board game right there, brother. That's a board game.
That is a board game. That is a board game. Yes.
All wives go to heaven. One of those things.
All white out of heaven. I think we're onto something.
Ding, ding,
We're
ding,
onto
ding,
a
ding,
lot of
ding,
good
ding.
ideas. We have, listen, if anyone is, by the way, listening and they'd like to donate to either Caleb or myself for giving you any great ideas, if you've heard here today, please make sure you PO Box 586, Huntersville, New York. You know the rest.
Ding, ding, ding. I love it, brother. I love it. Being that we have so many other journeys ahead of us, I really only have one more question for today, my friend, because we gotta, as they say with a fine dining meal, you always want to leave them just like, I could have one more bite. You want to leave them with a little bit more. So for right now, I'll close with my final question. You kind of, I feel like you've already been close to answering it, but I'm curious to see how you answer right now. Tim, my friend, what is your purpose?
My purpose, again, I did reiterate it, and I think it falls along with my passion in life is just to connect other people, make other people smile, make other people laugh. That's my purpose. I really truly believe that if I was put on place on this earth, it was for that. I don't have many other tools, Caleb. I couldn't be a doctor. I couldn't see the blood. I couldn't deal with the feet. I couldn't do traffic control. There's certain things I couldn't do. And so quite honestly, I realized that my jokes and everything that I've done along the way for all these jobs I've been at, it's always been the focal point of who I am as a person. I've always wanted to make people laugh, always wanted to get people out of their mood. I've always seen people come to work and they were maybe not happy. I almost want to just wash that away. And I know you can't do that. I know you can't have people be in that moment and think about it. But in some ways, I want people have people forget about some of those things and to enjoy themselves. Not that that's always realistic, but I'd like for you to think of me as your escape a lot of times. I would like to be your beach. I'd like to be your place where people get away and then come back to what you call real life. But I think everyone needs an escape. And that's why I'm here on this earth. I'm here for your escape. So jump on the Tim Sokol Airlines for an escape.
An escape to also reconnect with yourself. I would go so far as to say. So I love what you're doing, my friend. Anything else you have to share? Anything else that you'd like our listeners to know right now?
There are probably a lot of cool things. I would say if you want to know those things, follow me, follow Tim Sokol. I'm not going to tell you about those things and make it sound like a promotional thing, but I have some awesome things that I'm doing through my business, A Venue. And at the very least, see what I'm about on Facebook. At the secondary least, see what I'm about on an event, hop out on an event. And at the very third least, worst thing you could do is you can collaborate with me and we can have an amazing time. So that's what I'm going to throw out there.
I love it. We will be putting all of your links to connect with you. So make sure you just email me that stuff afterwards. All the links to connect with Tim. So anybody who's listening, and I've been part of a couple events now. It's a good time, and it's a fun way to actually elicit the actual result you care about, not just to have a distraction. It's an entertainment, a means to entertain while creating deeper connection. And for anybody who's running a business or trying to develop more staff, develop the deeper relationship with the staff or just whatever, that's what we're looking for right now in life. What we're seeing is that over the pandemic, people are craving connection. People are lonely. People are wanting to find a way back, but also have a good time while they're doing it. So I see the
you hit it on the nail, friend. You hit it on the nail. You said deeper connection. That's what I hope to bring people, and I do bring to people. I want you to come to an event and realize that you're going to walk away with probably a friend or two as well. So it's one way to look at it. That's the worst case. Walk away with a friend.
Ooh, that might be the tagline. That might be the tagline, brother.
We've got to play. I got to rewind this thing. I'm going to watch this thing. This was one of the best episodes you've ever had.
Yes, it was. I love it. I absolutely love it. I just,
no, I really did.
My guest I actually don't re-listen to any of these episodes. At some point, I probably will go back and listen to them, but I don't because I'm just like, you know what? If I want to re-listen to it, I'm just going to have another conversation with them. Like, why not? Like I get a treat. I get to go talk to them again. Shucks. Let's have more fun. But brother, like I'm so excited for the hump. I'm excited for the men's group we're putting together.
Yeah.
Excited to work together in a way I mean, I'm all about the collaboration and the connection. Like that's what it's about. Man, it's so much more fun. Like we do all these things alone? Sure. Do we
Yeah.
want to? Like, not as fun. It's just not.
No, wouldn't have the same power. And quite honestly, I feed off of Caleb. I mean, I'm talking a different person now. I'm talking, sorry.
I've been enjoying it
I
because
know
you've
you're
done
gonna,
it a
I know you're
lot. You've
gonna,
almost talking about me third person, or would that be second person?
like,
It might be the rare second
Caleb
person.
and Tim. No, but Caleb and I have been just coming out with some really cool ideas. And I'm thinking like in these little like idea sessions, we were talking about games and board games actually, and another thing. So there's some really cool ideas we've been hitting upon. And I'm not just saying that. Usually I say that shit with other people like, oh, I've got some really cool, you gotta take a look. No, we are coming up with some really cool stuff that's that I'm even surprised about myself, that there's some really cool creation. I'm surprised. Why am I surprised? I don't know. I'm surprised. We're both awesome people, but and yeah, I'm giving ourselves a lot of praise because I don't usually give myself as much praise as I'm now giving myself now more than ever. Why not? We're doing some really cool things. If I wasn't doing cool things, I would say, Caleb, I'm not doing a lot of cool things right now, but I hope to be doing some cool things. Well, now I'm doing some cool things. So let's talk about them, right? So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your respect and all of your comments and everything you've helped me out with in my life. Really appreciate that just as a friend, and also appreciate just having me on the podcast. It means a lot.
Feel the love, and I love you, bro. Like, and the one
Yeah.
thing that came to mind, I was like, I wanna praise you like I should. I don't know. There you go. Maybe that'll go on the playlist.
Did you say this and not? Maybe I missed this earlier, but did you mention something about a thought about song that you maybe had for the hump, like a little bit of an intro or anything like that? Did you think of something?
I haven't, but we should come up with something. That'd be good. We'll have to
Okay.
make sure it passes like copyright law and all those other things, but we'll find something. Maybe we'll come up with something on our own. No, we'll be
Yeah,
good.
we'll do a Vanilla Ice. We'll steal a little bit of a beat or something and drop our own thing.
Just like call it creative interpretation or something like that. I think you're allowed to do that kind of stuff. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll give cred where
Awesome.
cred's due. But guys, like I said before, Tim's information to connect with him is going to be in the show notes. Man, stay connected with all these things because we're going to have a good old time doing all that stuff. If you want more information, of course, you can reach out to me.
Yeah.
Tim. But thank you, brother, for being a part of this journey with me. I appreciate
Caleb,
it.
can I throw one last thing out there? And I'm sorry. Yes, thank you.
I think you
appreciate
can.
that.
I think you can. Yeah.
I want to throw one last thing out there. I don't know if you're still doing it this month, but I wanted to mention it because even if you're not doing it in the same effort or you're not calling it the same thing, I want your listeners to know about your idea about, I think it was like 1,000 people within the month.
Help 1,000 humans. Yeah, still doing it. It's not just a month. It's a help 1,000 humans over 12 months. So
for 12 months. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a really good listener, Caleb. Can we please tell me about that 12-month thing, what you're doing right now, please?
Sure. So it's inspired by, wifey had the vid probably 6 to 8 weeks ago now.
Right.
I was quarantined with her for a couple weeks, and I knew for some reason while I was in it, because I was quarantined when I had COVID, I had like this big like surge afterwards, but I knew something good was going to come from it. And
Right.
I got to this point where I was like, shit, man, I'm not having enough impact on the world. I need to get my act together and do something. So I committed. I just had this idea come to head. I was like, I'm going to help 1,000 humans. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm doing that by gifting two VIP coaching sessions with me. There is zero obligation for somebody to sign up. This is really goes out to anybody who maybe just needs a human being to talk to that hasn't had anybody hold space for a little bit. As far as what I typically enjoy talking about most, it's love and leadership. And as far as I consider that's relationships and communication. So I deal with a lot of business owners and couples in general, just because I think that's an important dynamic and learning how to translate and communicate between the two of them. But it's really open to anybody. I did not realize how much 1,000 humans is and how much time that was going to be until I did it. So I appreciate you bringing it up, because I legitimately
Yeah.
need help hitting that number. It is a
Okay.
lot that I've done well. I've gotten a lot of people on the books, but I could use some more. I can use, help me to help you. Help me to help you.
Okay. The intention, by the way, is amazing, because I just love the intention behind it. It says so much about who you are as a person. Of course, I'm biased because I have this relationship with Caleb right now. But I would say that this is how I got involved with Caleb. It was not because he wanted to connect with 1,000 humans. It was because he connected with me, but wanted to take it to a next level. And it wasn't because of who we were as people. I would like to take that away, because I've seen him deal with other people and how he's helped other people along the way. And there's something special that Caleb has that he can do for individuals. And it's that, like, that poker piece of reading things that I like to mention, is that he's very good about reading many different types of people with many different problems. So it's not just about couples and couple problems. I hit him on, and I'm not going to tell you what those problems are, but I've told you a couple of things that are, issues to me in my world. And the way that Caleb comes from a space of listening, place of understanding. And if you want to hear it, he'll actually give you some advice, whether you like it or not. He might even tell you. So it's one of those things that he did actually tell me. And I was so appreciative of the way he told me. It was even the way he brought it. Soft landing. It wasn't, Tim, you got to do this. It was very, it resonated with me. That's how I like to speak. Again, a lot of those things resonated with me, but I'm sure, just in a general sense, if you connect with this person, what's the worst that happens when you connect with an awesome person? You have another awesome person down the pipeline. Maybe you don't have a relationship with Caleb right now, but I guarantee you down the road, you'll kick the can, you'll find something you guys to do business with. So, yeah.
If you're trying to get me emotional before I get off the episode, it's working really well right now. And I did not. This is supposed to be about you, damn it.
Was this
I appreciate
like one-liners on how to get into other people's pants or something, or what was this all about? I don't know what the topic of the conversation was, but if it was, maybe that could have been it.
Oh my God.
But no, really, I do appreciate it. There's a lot of love in this room, and it's a lot of love for genuine reasons. And we've been doing this, and it seems, if anyone's like listening, be like, oh, these guys are like totally like kissing each other's ass. It's coming from such a good place. It's because we've just hit it off in a cool way. And again, we're doing some cool things. So that's where it's coming from. So if everyone's like looking at it and they feel it's not real, it's real. All right. It's coming from a really good place. So
feel the love, my friend.
Yeah.
Before I get too emotional and I can't function the rest of my day, because I have to actually look at, like, I have to do the bane of my existence. I have to do some admin work this afternoon. Thank God.
Yes.
My friend Ian's going to help me through all that stuff. Neither of us want to do this, so we're doing it together. So this has prepped me for the for that piece. And that's where I go ask for help. That's what I do. But thank you for just sharing your time. Thank you for sharing your energy, brother. And I'm looking forward to a lot of great things. And everybody, like I said, go check Tim out. He's got nothing but awesomeness in his world. And yeah, until next time, much love.
Yeah, much love. Thank you, Caleb.